I've been involved in boxing all my life, really. I started in the gym at 7 years old in Cardiff. My first amateur fight when I was 9 years old, and I've been boxing ever since. Amateur level, and turned pro at 18. Boxed pro for a number of years. I had a bad car accident and got into coaching, and coaching has been my life since. I turned pro at 18. I had my accident when I was about 26. But in between then, I was on and off like a few times. Always short notice fights, boxing away from home, very rarely on it. I wasn't a ticket seller. I didn't really even realise it was my job to sell tickets. I just got on with it, like, you know. I thought it was somebody else's job. The game's changed so much. I've learned so much over the years since I packed in boxing. I'd love to have a go again, like, you know, start all over again, but just leave it to the boxers now.
What's the difference between professional boxing now and professional boxing in your day?
I think more of the boxers are being made aware now that selling tickets is important, putting bums on seats to progress properly, like, you know. I like to see the boys getting fights at home, build up their records, but also we got to go on the road. Gary Buckland had his first 7 or 8 fights away from home and learned the hard way, and the others are on the back of Gary, really. Now we're getting shows back in Newport and back in Wales. We've got Lee Selby and Gary Buckland. I think they'll go to the top of the Europe this year, win the European titles. And lots of other Welsh boxers now can come through on the back of them. We're putting shows on back in Wales.
A lot of people think that boxers from years ago, 10, 20, 30, 40 years ago, are better than contemporary boxers who are boxing now. Would you agree with that, or disagree, or is there a most easy answer to it?
I don't think you can say as a whole. There are obviously some featherweights then better than featherweights now. And there might have been welterweights then not as good as welterweights now. You know, not particularly any particular weights. You can't categorise the whole era there to this era. No, it's just so different. You know, it's individual weights, individual fighters.
How did you first become a boxing trainer?
I had a bad accident a couple of years ago. I snapped my legs. I was in hospital for a couple of weeks and I had plates and screws in my leg. So I started coaching a few of my friends who wanted to do a bit of boxing. I started training Marcel Herbert, who was my best friend as a kid. And then I got involved with a couple of other fighters, low-key Welsh fighters. I just stuck at it, started doing well with the amateurs. The amateurs were coming through. And the amateurs, as youngsters then, turned pro with me and stayed with me since, like, you know. Gary Buckland's the most successful so far that I've had from the beginning. Obviously I didn't have Lee Selby as an amateur. But from his first pro fight I've had him, and he's come good, like same as Gary.
Was it a big move for you to open your own gym here in Newport?
No, not at all, because I didn't open this gym. The gym is here already. Roger Williams started the gym with Di Exton, and then I was training here at the time. I turned over as a trainer then and just carried on through as a trainer, and with Roger's blessing really, bringing the pros into the gym. And the amateurs and the pros have benefited from the contribution of myself, Roger Williams, Billy Reynolds and Di Exton.
On face value, people may watch amateur boxers or professional boxers on television. The sport looks pretty similar apart from the head guards and vests. But what are the main differences between the amateur game and the pro game from someone who works with both amateurs and pros?
The amateurs are all about scoring points. There's too much, I don't like the computer scoring at all, and there's far too many last rounds in the contests where the boxer goes out in the last round, knows he's 3 or 4 points up, and just goes out to keep his lead. So he's just on the back foot, keeping away, and somebody gets near him, he's just grabbing onto him and spoiling. I think the amateur game's gone downhill in that respect. When they turn pro, it's a bit of a rude awakening for them, because when that bell goes, the referee warns you or tells you, defend yourself at all times, and it really is a fight. So I think the professional game is more of a fight than the amateur game, which is becoming too technical because of the computer.
What changes would you like to make in the amateur sport?
I would like to go back to genuine judges, just sat there judging the fight, not using computers. I think it's like sometimes they just sat there playing with PlayStations. I think it should go back to the original scoring. Get rid of the nil scores. I've seen a young kid, 11, 12-year-old kid boxing and losing 11-0. I mean, that's ridiculous. You know, you got to go to school the next day, go home, tell it to his parents and his family. How'd you get on? I lost 11-0. It's ridiculous. You know, years ago, if you won every round, the score was 60-57. You won by majority, or I won by unanimous. You know, today is, to tell a young kid he's lost 11-0, or even a senior, I just don't like the scoring now.
How healthy do you think boxing is in general at the moment?
The pro game seems quite healthy. We've got a lot of high-profile champions and high-profile names on the scene, so that's great. I think the amateur boxing has gone downhill. The head guards were a lot to blame. Took out a lot of it. The computer scoring, a lot of people are not happy with, and the numbers. I mean, they need to get amateur boxing back in the schools, definitely. When I boxed in the schoolboy championships in 80 and 81, I represented my school, Willows High School. I went in the programme. Today, it's not even involved in the schools. So if anything, shy away from it. In England, they're bringing boxing back to the schools, and I think they really need to make a big effort now, going into the schools and getting boxing back involved in the schools.
When you're training your fighter, when he's got a fight coming up, how do you feel before the fight? Do you feel as nervous as the boxer, or are you quite calm? Or in the build-up to the fight, the days, the hours before you get in the ring, what's your emotions like?
To be honest, I'm very nervous, but I don't show it. I'm very confident around the boxers because I think it rubs off on them. I just think hard, act hard, and it's a hard business, and you've got to be hard with them. If I seem to be weary of something or nervous of any situation, it'll rub off on them. So I just give them the confidence, really.
Over the last 12 months, 24 months, you've gone from a trainer who's relatively well-known within Welsh boxing, but now you're respected and well-known in the whole of British boxing. Do you feel that you've been rewarded for your whole hard work and dedication you put into boxing over your whole life, basically?
Yeah, and I was really appreciate it. I won Welsh Coach of the Year last year, not for boxing in general. And obviously now when I go into different shows, people recognise me, you're known as a coach. And to be honest, I have worked hard over the years, and I've always hoped to get where I am now. But certainly my feet are still firmly on the ground, and I want to take Gary and Lee Selby onto European titles, Justin Hugh onto Welsh and British titles, Chris Higgs, Mitchell Buckland, Frankie Borg. I've got a lot of prospects in the gym. Fred Evans will turn pro probably in the next 2 years. There's still a lot more to come.
Where did Lee Selby's punching power come from? Because early in his career he had mostly points wins, and all of a sudden he steps out at the British level, shocks everyone by winning the British title by a knockout, and then just seems to be knocking everybody out.
Well, to be honest, I don't think people give their respect to the journeymen that they do. Some of these journeymen know exactly what they're doing. They're craftsmen. They're very clever. So when Lee was boxing as the journeyman, I'd say, listen, don't try and knock these guys out. They'll make you look sluggish, they'll make you look slow. Just go for the motions and get your win under the belt. We weren't going there to try and knock them out. And obviously the knockers didn't come. But if you are trying to knock them out, often they'll tie you up and tuck them nice and tight. They're not throwing much back at you, so it's hard to knock them out. Whereas the guys he's fighting now are trying to win. They're throwing shots at him. When you throw a long right hand and you miss with it, which he will make you miss, and he's punishing him with left hooks. They're throwing Simpson, real tough guy, great fighter. So a long right hand, Selby slipped, one left hook to the body, the fight was over. Whereas the journeyman wouldn't have thrown that right hand. So the power's always been there. He never trained properly as an amateur, never dedicated himself to the game. When he first came to the gym, to be honest with you, I'll tell you, he was getting, taken apart in there all the time. And I said, you won't be able to clown in here. These boys all train hard. They're all good, fit boys. You've got to step the training up another 3 or 4 levels. And he's come from strength to strength on the circuits, the runs, the weights, everything. He really does put everything into it, and it's shown in his boxing.
How far do you think Lee Selby can go in professional boxing?
I honestly think he can win a world title. Both Lee Selby and Gary Buckland, I think, can win European titles in the next 12 months, and probably if they get a world title shot, I honestly think they can do it.
Whose idea was it, or suggestion was it, for Gary Buckland to drop down in weight after he lost his shot at the British title?
When he first turned pro, I wanted him to box at super feather. I think his first fight he came in at about 9'5", 9'6", and I felt that was his best weight. We were struggling to get fights for him then. He went away on his first fight and boxed an unbeaten fighter and beat him. Word got around then, so we couldn't get him any fights for a while, so we took what we could. So he's boxing around 9'9", 9'10" mark. Then again, things slowed up for us. He took a fight at 10'4", 10'5", and knocked the kid out in the first round. So he thought, great, I'd be strong enough at welterweight. So we had to keep talking him out to that. We got him a Welsh title fight at light welterweight. Again, he won. So everything we were telling him was with him winning was going against us really, but we convinced him in the end he had to drop down a weight. And I think when he fought against John Murray, I think most people think we took him down because he lost to John Murray, but to be honest with you, he lost to John Murray because the preparation wasn't the best. It was very short notice. Gary wasn't in the gym at the time. When we rang him and asked him his weight, he took half a stone off, told us one weight, and he was actually half a stone heavier. And it was just 3 weeks of just getting his weight down. So when he went in there, the previous fight, he'd fought Sam Makundo and had an injury to his lower rib, which he didn't tell us about. That's the way Gary is. So his sparring wasn't the best. All he did was 3 weeks to lose weight. So when he went against John Murray, not taking anything from John Murray, but it wasn't nowhere near full Gary Buckland. But we used that to our advantage and told him that, I told him, I'm still certain you're the best in Europe, but you got to drop down a weight. Prize fighter came along, which was ideal for us. He went in prize fighter, and it proved his worth. I mean, Derry Matthews just lost for the European title last week against Gavin Rees. I mean, Gary Buckland dropped him in the first and beat him up in the second. He also done Gary Sykes in 1 round. So it proved to him that super feather is his weight, and since then he's gone on to Mexico and had a win, and the rest is history.
How far do you think Gary can go?
As I said, I've always said that he'll go to the top of Great Britain. I'm looking at him now and thinking, well, you can certainly win a European title. I'm certain he'll beat the European champion, and who knows then? There's a world title shot for him. I mean, I rate Adrian Broner highly. We've had a good look at him, and we went out to Mexico with him. We stayed with him out to Mexico. But Gary Buckland is the type who can beat Adrian Broner. He's fit enough and strong enough and dedicated enough to stay in Broner's face for 6-8 rounds, and Broner started asking questions of himself then. And I think Gary gave him some answers.
Which other boxers can we expect to come from this gym over the next 12 months, 24 months?
It'll take me a while to give you a list, but honestly, Justin Hugh, there's big things expected from him. Frankie Borg, Mitchell Buckland, Chris Higgs. There we go. And back to the amateurs, then we got Fred Evans, Joe Cordina, Sean McGoldrick, all gold medalists, all with a great future ahead of them.
I asked you earlier about the amateur and pro game. Do you sometimes get a bit confused when you train amateurs and pros? Do you teach them in a different way?
To be honest, no, I don't. It's just in my head. The amateurs do a lot of sparring with the pros. They need to. There's not enough depth in Wales for us to get like 3 or 4 good featherweight sparring together. So I let all my amateurs spar with the pros. And if you look at Sean McGoldrick and Joe Cordina, they're in the top 3 in Great Britain at basically feather and what would be super feather. And Gary Buckland in the top 2 in Great Britain in the pro rank. They all spar regularly, and it's great sparring. Good for all of them.
Just out of curiosity, Tone, if Manny Pacquiao ever does fight Floyd Mayweather, who do you think would win?
Mayweather. Far too slick, far too many. He'd answer too many questions. Like, he's just too much for Pacquiao. I honestly think he'd beat him well.
Another question, never get answered. Who would have won between Mike Tyson and Muhammad Ali?
What a horrible question. I don't know. It's a difficult one. At both their primes, I think Tyson would have got to him. Because at the heights of both their careers, I think Tyson would have done it. Anywhere else during their careers, the beginning or at the end of either of their careers, who knows? But I think at the very top, I think Tyson would have been just a little bit too tenacious for him. I think he went for it and got him, caught up with him.
And last question, if you could have a dream matchup between 2 boxers in the history of the sport, you could have a time machine and put them together, who would you have?
Mayweather, Leonard.
And who do you think would win?
Leonard might be just a little bit too big for him.
Or you think Mayweather's good enough to hold his own with Sugar Ray Leonard?
Yeah, but it's at the lower weights. I mean, I think Leonard went on to prove what he could do at bigger weights, so it depends when they fought. If they fought at like welter or welterweight, I think Leonard might be... It would be a close fight, but what has he got? If Mayweather decided to go up a weight to fight him, Leonard might be a little bit too big, but that would be my dream fight to them too.
Tony Borg, thank you very much.